Hey y'all, happy Sunday and welcome to this week's live Q&A session. This is the portion of the show where we allow YouTube to send out notifications that we're going live. If you're watching this live Q&A on replay, please scrub ahead until this graphic disappears and the actual show begins. If you're watching live and you have any comments or questions, please go ahead and put them in the live chat. But for now, grab a beverage, sit back, and relax while the countdown timer does its thing. Then we'll get started. Oh, that calming music just thrills me to the core. This is inside baseball, and I know you really aren't interested in this stuff, but I got to say it sometimes. Yeah, this is number 249 of these live streams. I've done more live streams than I have videos, but I still get all nervous and get all amped up and jazzed up before I push that button and we go live. One of the reasons I chose that intro music for the 5 minute countdown timer is because it kind of mellows me out and brings me back down. You're not interested in that, but that's life in the fast lane. So they tell me. Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome aboard. As you can see, I got into an argument with the barber and the barber won, but that's all right. We'll do it. Yeah. I see it there, Ellen. It's still here. It's just a lot shorter. I thought I'd try the dapper look for a change. Don't know how it's gonna go, but I figured I was due for a sharing. Um, you know, and what the heck. So, ah, but well, anyhow, not gonna get into that. I don't see Al Pillig here in the group chat. But I will. I'll repeat it if he does pop in. But a little bit of unfinished business here. I have had more questions about this overhead camera rig than I thought I would ever get. I didn't think anybody'd be interested in it, so I didn't shoot any video of it. I am, however, in the middle of writing up a article for my website, and I'll post it as soon as I have it finished. I've got the text and everything all done, but I've got to take a few more good quality pictures. I took a few pictures, but not very many. So I will be posting a website article over at marklindsaycnc.com as soon as I'm done with it. I got to get some better pictures, as I say. But that is a good segue into saying hello and thank you to my sponsor of marklindsaycnc.com, and that's Steve over at Harneal Media. I mention him every week. Some of you have taken advantage of the services that Steve offers, and I'm very glad to see that. The guy is just dynamite. I mean, what else can I say? He gives you performance. He doesn't give you excuses. And when you work with Steve, you are working with Steve. You're not working with a team of folks scattered all over the place. You're not dealing with some nameless, faceless person in a call center somewhere overseas. You're talking to Steve. And that speaks volumes. I mean, the guy is very, very competitively priced. And I don't know how he does 2/3 of the things he does. I don't know if he sleeps in his office or what, but I guarantee you won't find better service. Do yourself a favor, head over to his website. There's a link to Harneal Media in every video on this channel, and it's that way for a reason. Do yourself a favor, hit that website, hit that contact us link, and just let him know what you're looking for. He will get back to you. Thank you, Steve, and thank you for everything you do for me. You don't know how much I appreciate it. So today, I thought what I would do, because I know last week I talked a little bit about going into the Rotary, and I have a project in mind for the Rotary, but I'm not quite ready for it yet. I'm having a couple issues, mainly to do with my memory, and that is I'm recreating a spindle for a it's a part to a spinning wheel. Huh, what are the odds? And I can't for the life of me remember how I got the vector, how I got the outline of the spindle I'm trying to recreate. It's got to match something that's already there. Well, once I get that taken care of, I'll get a couple of, I've got several Rotary projects in mind. I'll get that going. But I've been getting quite a few questions about text. And I've covered text quite a bit, but new people join all the time. New people discover my videos all the time. So I thought what I would do is I would briefly, very quickly go over some of the basics of text, but then I want to get in more advanced. Some are pretty intermediate text manipulations that you can do, and others are pretty advanced manipulations you can do. And this is not Aspire only. And in fact, what I'm going to do, everything I'm going to do today, I'm going to do in VCarve Pro. Now, almost all of this can be done in VCarve Desktop. In fact, I'm hard pressed to think of anything I'm going to do that isn't available in VCarve Desktop. But I don't have VCarve Desktop, so I don't know if all these options are available. I think they are, though. So let's go ahead and get into it. And again, I'm going to quickly go over some of the more basic things because there have been some changes in version 12 uh, based on that are different from my last videos, which were in, I want to say, version 11. Now, John is asking, can you use your shape or trace? Yes, I can. And he's talking about for the spindle, to get the vector for that spindle I want to recreate. But I did this without the shaper trace, and I'm trying like crazy to remember how I did it. And some of it's coming back to me, but I did this about 6-7 years ago. So, and I didn't do a video on it. Dirty little secret, more inside baseball. One of the reasons that I make videos is because for situations like this, I can't remember how I did something one time 6, 7, 8 years ago. So with a video, I can go back and go, oh, that's how I did that. Well, like a dummy, I didn't shoot video of how I came up with that vector. So that's just what it's like to be me. But let's see. Let's get into working with text. Briefly, some of the changes that were created in version 12. Ray Russell, you the man. Welcome aboard. I will be talking a little bit later on about channel membership. Thank you for joining. We'll get into it just a little bit later on. I'll give you a proper welcome. Let's see here now. Yeah. If you look at over here in VCarve, we have a couple of different icons. What we have here is draw text. And instead of draw text in a box over here, now we have just convert that text to curves. Now, I will get into that in just a minute. But if we go into the draw text tool, and it takes a couple minutes to load simply because I have so many fonts. Remember that VCarve, Cut2D, Aspire, all of them use the fonts that are installed on your computer. So if you have a if you have a program, paging Dr. Freud, like Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, when you installed that program, it installed a bunch of fonts on your computer. All of those fonts are available in Cut2D, VCarve, and Aspire. All of the fonts from your word processor are available for use. Every font on your computer is available. So the more fonts you have, the longer it's going to take for that create text form to open, because it's got to load all of those font titles. And I have on this computer, I have just over 1,300 fonts. And that's why it takes so long to load. So it's a double-edged sword. It's great to have all of those fonts on your computer, but it's going to take up a little bit of time to get this thing to load up. And you've got to be very careful about deleting fonts or uninstalling them from your computer, simply because unless you're 100% certain, you don't know what program is using those fonts, and you don't want to mess up another program. So let's go ahead and get into this. Here in this form, you now have text or text in a box. And the difference is subtle, but it's there. If I have a rectangle out here, I can select that rectangle and then check text in a box. And any text I write in here is going to be sized to fit in that box. If I'm doing just regular text, I can select the text height here. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to do some very, very simple text. I'm just going to put my first name in here. I am going to use bold, and I'm going to align it to the center. And I'm just going to put my name in here. And we'll go ahead and close it. Now I'm going to go ahead and move it up kind of to the center. And I'm going to resize it by holding down the Shift key and clicking on this white dot right here, not the black one, the white one over here in this corner, and I'm going to enlarge that text. Now I'll put it in the center. Okay. So as it sits right now, this text, wow, is a specific object. It is a text object. And there are certain things we can do with it as a text object that we can't do with regular vectors. Certain edits we can make to it. There used to be 3 or 4 different icons over here for putting this text on a curve or adjusting the spacing in between the letters. Those have been moved and those icons have disappeared. Almost all of that is now back here within the text tool. Some of the questions I've gotten are, well, how do I edit the text after I've already written it? Well, you simply select the text, and notice as an object, no matter what I click, the whole text object gets highlighted. So in that regard, it's very similar to grouped vectors, but it's handled differently. So we'll select it and we'll go back into the text tool. And again, it takes it a couple minutes to load everything. And now if you look at it, I've got a few extra markers out here. I have the standard resize white diamonds, and I have the rotation points on the 4 corners, but I also have these green squares up here, up above and down below. And with those, for instance, the one down on the bottom, I put my cursor over that and you'll see how the cursor changes. Now I can curve that text right here, but I can only pull it down. I'm trying to push up, I can't push it up. I can only pull it down using this one. If I move up here, I can only move it up and curve it that direction. Now you'll notice this square right here appears. It starts off way off of the material. Let me go ahead and bring that back down, and you can see when it's just above vertical, there's that square down there. That is, imagine a circle, and you are putting this on a radius of this circle. This is the center point of that circle. You can move that up, for instance, by clicking on this circle, but the only way to adjust that circle is to grab hold of this, and as I push up, it pulls the center point because I'm changing this arc. I'm changing the radius of this arc. Okay? And then I can adjust down here and make it wider or bring it back to flat. That is absolutely, that is your pivot point. So we can drag that up here, move our pivot point. Now, if we grab a hold of one of these red rotation rings and move it, we can pivot around that point. So it doesn't have to be straight. It can be kind of crooked off this direction. My text is a little big to do anything that big. Center is asking, can you enter an exact value for the radius? Not within the text tool. What you can do, however, is draw a guide circle or a guide arc that's an exact value. For instance, if I want this around an 8-inch diameter circle, which would be about 203 millimeters. If I wanted to make this around that circle, what I would do is I would draw that circle first and then adjust that pivot point up to match the center of that circle. So there are workarounds for doing this, but not 100%, if you know what I mean. Now, bring this back around closer to the center and it snaps back into place. Now, if I grab hold of one of these, what it does is it increases the radius without moving this up here. This moves everything. It increases the radius from the center, while this changes the radius from one end. And it's kind of a finer adjustment. But one of the things that goes on when you're doing this is you'll notice that my spacing has changed. Now, let me click off of that, and then I'll select it again just to get back into it here. So I probably want to tighten up the spacing. And that's exactly what I'm getting into right now, Michael. If you look, when I bring my cursor up in between the letters, I've got the letter V, the letter A, with arrows pointing toward each other in between them. I can now adjust that spacing and bring it in a little bit closer together and kind of clean it up a little bit. Now it's still, I mean, this capital M is pretty wide because I have bold selected. So this base is pretty wide, and it's putting the center of that letter on this arc down here. So it still kind of looks a little funky, but you can adjust the spacing after you have put it on a curve or before you put it on a curve. Either way, you can do all these edits. And if they're too close together already, you need to move them apart a little bit. All you do is you press and hold the shift key, and you see those arrows point away from each other now. And now you can space them out. Oops, I went too far. Release the shift key and bring it back in. So you have better control within one tool. And Becky with Vectric likes to use the phrase mouse miles. So this was done in an attempt to decrease the number of mouse miles that you're putting into the work. Do it all within one tool. Excuse me. Rather than take it all out and get out of this tool, go into another, come back into this tool, go into another, and do things like that. So it's a little easier. Let's see. Is there a way to curve just the M? We'll get into that in just a second. Can you also click and highlight the letter M in the function box and make it bold, make it not bold, whilst keeping the other letters bold? No. You are making all of the letters bold or not. And that dovetails in with Michael's question, is there a way to curve just the M? No, because it's all one object. It's all one text object. Now, there are some workarounds for that. You can still do this without changing it from a text object. There's two ways of accomplishing what you're talking about accomplishing. One is to get out of the text tool, and that's where this icon comes into play. We'll select the text and we'll convert it to curves. Now they're regular vectors. They are no longer text. And each one is a separate entity, to include the outside of this letter A and the inside. They're two separate vectors. So now you would either have to select them and group them, or remember to select both. From here, you can now go into Move and Transform and rotate that M a little bit if you choose to do so. Or you can rotate just the letter K if you choose to do so. But as a one-piece text object, you can't select one individually. There is a workaround. Again, being a Windows program, there are probably 20 ways to do the same thing. If you don't want to convert it to curves, and let me Control Z out of that, Control Z to undo that, and undo the convert to curves. So now I'm back to text. If you don't want to convert them to curves, if you want to keep them as a text entity, what you can do is select, go back into your text tool, and this is a big time cheat. Okay. What we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and, no, I'm not. I'm going to leave it curved like this. What we're going to do is we're going to go into the text and we're going to break it up into separate lines so that the M is separate. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I mean backspace. I'm just going to put the cursor in between the M and the A in my name, and I'm going to tap enter. Hello, it's not going to allow me to do it after it's been curved. Okay, that's good to know. I thought it would. While it's flat, and stop the rotation here. What's going on with that? Oh, that's right. I did rotate it. Yeah, now I got to mess with it. Well, I tell you what I'll do. I'll just delete it and start over. I want to have separate letters. Okay. I'll go M, enter. A, enter. R, enter. K. Now, each letter, it's still one text object, but now if I select it, right-click, text, break block into lines. Now each letter is separate, but they're still text objects. But now I have to manually move them and line them up. I would use guidelines for this. And we'll put that up on the center. Then we'll bring this down onto the center. All right. Well, that didn't work out so good. Let's get a guideline. Whoops. Come out of move and transform. Bring a guideline down here. There we go. Now I'll bring all these down. Pop them on that guideline. Now they're each individual text objects. And I can manipulate them separately. But again, they're still text objects. Whoops, too close. Now I can put each one of them on a separate curve if I want to. Papa's Workshop says should be able to put the M on one line and arc on the other line in the text tool, but locate in the project on the same line. Yes, you certainly could. You certainly could. Instead of doing each letter individually, I could do this on one line, this on the other line, break the block into lines, and then manipulate them. I sure could. Let's see. John says, what if you convert them to a curve, making each separate? Then you can put the M on a separate curve. Yes, I could. I could do that as well. Like I said, being a Windows program, there are about 1,300 different ways of doing the exact same thing. And this is another one of those cases of where there is no best. It's whatever works for you. Now, I really don't see the advantage of having separate individual characters here. So probably something like what Papa here is suggesting would be more appropriate, because even though they're still text objects, I can't get into adjust the spacing. I have to manually move them. Like I can nudge this K over using my cursor keys, maybe. Yeah, there we go. And doing it that way. Now my K is a little bit crooked here. Let me rotate that slightly. There we go. That's a little better. I don't know where that came from, but hey. So I don't see any real advantage in doing this. So let me go ahead and delete this. And we'll go with Papa's suggestion, which is a good one, especially in this case. So, and also taking a cue from 8th Center here, I'm going to take the bold off and I'll type M. Now, because I don't want this letter M bold, I now have to close that, move it off to the side. Let's drag that straight down so that it's on the guideline. Boom, there we go. Deselect, and now I'll select bold and go ARK, drag that down. Now I can use my text tools to adjust spacing here. And there we go. I can use my text tools to adjust this spacing, but I still have to adjust this spacing manually. Now, this is only if I want this to be not bold, or maybe I want it bold and these not bold. So we have a real, a little more decorative look. Or maybe I want 2 or 3 different fonts. Currently, there is no way to get into the text tool. Come on, there we go. And use different fonts here. What I would have to do is I would have to do either find a font that gives me an appearance that I'm looking for, or again, I would have to do individual letters. So let me get into that. We'll delete this. And here we go. Come on. I'll do a bold center, capital M. Close that. Then we'll bring it down over here. Grab the bottom corner mark. There we go. And snap it to that guide. Then click off, come back into the text. And let's try a different font. Let's go with, I'm just grabbing something here. Small a. And I don't want that to be bold. All right, that's fine. And we'll grab that and drag it down and put that right there. Then we'll come in and grab a different font. And again, I'm just doing goofy stuff here. Small r. Okay. This looks goofy as heck. And let's pick another one here. It doesn't matter what it is. Let's do that one. And we'll type a letter K. Whoa, no, we're not going to do that. I made a mistake. I don't like that font. Let's try another one. Let's go with something. Yeah, that's all right for this example anyway. I think that's a little bit wide. Let's narrow that down some by dragging that in. There we go. And I've got a holy mess, but still looks in keeping with the idea. So this is the only way currently to mix and match fonts. Now, 8 Center says it's handy where you can mix and match fonts. I often like to use a big fancy calligraphy in the first letter, then much more simple calligraphy in the following letters. And that's legitimate. That is a very appropriate use for this. And it would be nice to be able to mix and match. I think you let's see, he says you can also double click the font choice box, then use the up and down keys to scroll through them easily. Yeah, yes, you can. And what he's talking about is, let's say, go to this one here, click. Come on, there we go. And now you can use your up and down arrows to scroll through. And if you watch over here, as I scroll through, it's not only scrolling through the list, but it's changing the font as it does so. So I can get a little bit better of a idea. Oh, there we go. Let's just go with that. And we'll close it. So you can use separate fonts. Just know that you have to do each letter individually. But as 8 Center is talking about, you can get some very wild calligraphy fonts for a first letter. And that brings me into one other subject that I was going to briefly touch on, and that is sizing. So if you come in here, I've got this one selected. You look down here, we have text height. What that's going to do, if you're typing all, a series of characters, like in, for instance, my name, in one font, what it's going to do is it's going to assign this height to the tallest letter. So if you are using a script font, well, any type of font, to be honest, a lot of the capital letters, like this one, for example, this is Tracy. The capital letters are much taller than the lowercase in most cases, but not all cases. Like, for instance, I find this is specifically in the capital, like in my name, the capital M. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to close that. I'm going to delete this and go back. It'd be better to give an example than to try to talk about it. And I'll turn off that guideline. If I go in here, back in here to my text tool, and I go back to Times New Roman, where are you? Oh, I didn't change it. Yep, I didn't change it. So this is going to answer Brooks Martin's question over here. Can you still type, say, A to go to Arial? Yes. For example, I got my drop down here. I'm going to type the letter T. I'm going to type the letter T. Now you're not going to do it. Okay, that's the first one. So I'll type the letter S. It's going to jump down to the first font that begins with the letter S. Now, if I go TI, it's going to take me down to the first font that starts with TI. If I type TIM, there's my Times New Roman. So you can, if you know the name of the font you're looking for, you can get in there and boom, boom, boom. Type in the first few characters of the name, and it will scroll down to that name. That comes in handy if you use the same font a lot, like I tend to do. Now, into the text height, I'm going to change this to an even. I got to enter some text first. Mark. I'm going to change this to an even 3 inches, and notice none of it is bold. And I'll drag, well, let me close. And I'll align that to the center of my material. I'm going to go back into the text window. And if we take a look, you'll see I've got a line right down here, a baseline right down here. If you put an anchor point, X and Y, that's where it's going to place that baseline, not the center of the font. A lot of people get confused with that. But if you look up here, I have a top line. I have found when it comes to sizing that a small K, a small L, and there are a couple of other fonts, but mainly small Ks and small Ls tend to be taller than the capital. Now that's usually not a problem. But my point is this 3 inches in height is not the capital letter. It's sizing that letter K to 3 inches. So just a little, hint on the sizing. So that is some of the basic text manipulation. We could get into distort and things of that nature, but I wanted to also show you a couple of things in VCarve. These are, I don't know if I would say they're diabolical or not, but they're kind of cheats and they're kind of workarounds. I've been asked a few times about 3D text. Can you do 3D text in VCarve? I just need some text to stand proud, but I want it to be part of a model. And the answer to that is yes, you can. Again, I'm here in VCarve. I'm not in Aspire. I'm in VCarve Pro 12.008. So right now I have just plain old text objects. If I go into the 3D view, there is nothing there but a text object. Let's go there. All right. So I need to put a 3D shape I needed a 3D shape to use level clipping to clip to this. Now, if I just want flat top text and because I want this to stand proud, what I can do is come down here to my clip art, and I go into domes and dishes a lot. But if we look down here, there is a flat square and a flat rectangle. So I'll double click the flat rectangle to put one into the center of my material. And I'm going to hold down Shift, and I need to drag this rectangle out so that it covers the text. And I want to cover it completely because there is a round edge here. And I want that round edge gone. So let me make it just a little bit bigger. There we go. Now I know that that round edge isn't going to interfere with my text. Now, if I look over here at the 3D view, all I've got this, flat piece out, but I can still see my my vectors. Thank you, Vectric, for giving us the opportunity to work with vectors in the 3D view. Now I'm going to come over here to the component tab, and yours is probably on the left unless you've changed them to be on the bottom like I have. And now I can select those vectors. Then I'm not going to click on the flat rectangle. I'm going to come up here to level where it says level 1. With those vectors selected, I will right click and come down to clipping and click apply. And what I just did was I just trimmed, let me turn off my vectors. I just trimmed that flat plate to my text. So now I have flat text that stands proud. If I go over here and do a finishing toolpath, I'll do material boundary, 1/8 inch ball nose. It's not going to be very detailed. I'm just raster. We'll calculate, then we'll run it. You'll see what I mean. I would use a much smaller bit if I was going to do this. This may take a while to run if it's taking this long just to calculate, but we'll figure it out. Wow. Okay. And because I did make it do the entire piece of material, and we'll preview that. And I don't know why I got that black look. That is still something. Oh, I know why. Because it cut the entire depth away. That's why. But you can see I have this now standing proud. What does that do for me? Well, right here in this situation, not much. But let's go back over here. I'm going to delete that. Let's go back over here and let's say, okay, I want this in a dish. Well, what I'll have to do, I should have done to begin with, but this is how to correct from an error. I want to go back over to my clip art and let's put this in a flat rectangle. I'm going to add another one. And how am I going to correct this? Well, what I'll do is I will size this, hold down Shift, make it just slightly smaller than that first one. Then go into the component tab. And I know, Michael, you're sitting there going, what the heck are you doing? I'm going to take that rectangle and I'm going to take the combine mode and change it to subtract. What did I just do? Well, this is merge. So I'll change this to combine mode to add. And I have to move this dish into another level. So that's insert new level. And I'm going to have to swap these around. So level 2 will need to, I can't move level 2 below level 1. Okay, can I move level 1 above level 2? Yes, I can. All right. There we go. Now I can move my flat rectangle. Hello, move you down to level 2. There we are. That's what I wanted to do. I should have put this dish rectangle in level 1, then created a new level and put these two rectangles, or this rectangle, in the other one. Now if I look at my 3D view, we can see that I have raised text in that dish. Now my text is green. It's poked up out of the surface of the material. So I'll need to right-click that text and go into properties, and I need to reduce the height of that text. Because right now the whole thickness of the model is thicker than my material. So let's go with 0.5 and see if that does it. Yeah, that brings it down below the level of that dish. And the depth of my dish is 0.53. Okay. All right. So I can close that. Everything is fine. But because I have this dish out here, I'm going to need to add a zero plane. So let me make sure I'm on level 2. Let me add a zero plane. Now, if I go over and calculate, and I'm not going to change anything. I probably want to bring my gap up. Yeah, I'm going to bring my gap up so I have a gap of 10 thousandths above the top of this model. And I click OK. OK. I'll go ahead and leave that 1/8 inch ball nose again. It's not going to give me much detail for this demonstration, but we'll get by. Now when I look at this toolpath, thank you, Michael. Your tutelage has not fallen on deaf ears. The thing about doing these live streams is you get to see the mistakes I make, and I get to show how to recover from them. You don't get this in a edited video. Okay, let's go ahead and let's preview that and see how it comes out. And shaboom. All of this in VCarve Pro. There are two 3D, well, there's three 3D models if you're counting the zero plane, which you should, or three components rather. But those three components combine to make one 3D model. So we are able to do that. We're able to use VCarve Pro to create this 3D text within this dish. But there are other things that you can do with this as well. Now, I showed this to, you see them in the chat now, Crafty Jans LLC. That's Kurt Briegel. I showed this to him, and he ran with it when he made a sign for one of his favorite restaurants. I'm going to go ahead and delete this toolpath, and we'll reset preview, close it, and get out of here. Go back to the 2D view, and I'm going to remove both of these dishes. So now what we can do is we can use that to shape the top of the text. So if I come in here in my clip art and I pick a dome, doesn't matter which dome, pick a dome, any dome. Let's say that one. And I'm going to resize it, hold down Shift. I'm going to resize it so it covers my text again. So I have my text within this dome. Now look at my 3D view, and I have a dome that is probably taller than my material is thick, but that's okay. We'll fix that. So what I'll do is I'll come over here into the components, and I'm going to right click, go down to properties, and I see my text height is way thicker than my material is. So let's make this shape height, let's make it 0.5. Let that update. Now I'll close it. And if you're wondering where the text is, it's because I have the vectors turned off. This will toggle the vector visibility in the 3D view. So now what I'm going to do, I don't need that zero plane. So I'm going to take that zero plane out of there. I'm going to select that text, then come up to level 2, clipping, and apply. And now what I've done, turn off my vector visibility, is I have curved the top of that text. The center of the text is that 0.5 high that we entered in the properties. But this corner over here is not as high as this here. It's still taller than my material thickness. So when I come over here to machine this, go into tool setup, excuse me. No, we're okay. I thought it was thicker than my setup. All right. Click OK to accept that, then click OK to get out of material setup. Now, when I do this, changing nothing, still going with the material boundary, calculate it. And come on, you can do it. It just takes a few minutes for this to calculate. And there we go. Now, if you look, whoops. Oh, no, that just had everything to do with the zoom. Okay, let's preview. My material surface is flat, but the top of my text is curved. So that's a neat little detail you can put in. And Kurt with Crafty Jans, he ran with that and kind of turned it up to 11. It's great to have one large dome for each letter. Kurt took it in a different direction. And I'll show you what I mean right now. Let's get out of the preview. And I'm going to get rid of this dish. First, let's go into level clipping. Go into clipping, and I'll take remove. So my text is no longer clipping that dome. I'm going to go back over to the 2D view because it's easier to do in the 2D view. I'm going to select and go into move and transform mode, hold down shift again, and bring that way down and put it just under the M. Now I'll size it so that the M is covered, and that's all. Now's where I need to be careful. I want to change the combine mode on this dish to add. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dome behind each individual letter. Now this may or this may not work. I don't want them to merge with one another and possibly change. Well, maybe I do want them to merge. We're going to find out. So now I've got this dome in move and transform mode. I'm going to hold down the control key and drag a copy over the A, and I will resize it to a little bit closer to that A. Drag that down here. And let me check my 3D view. Yes, I do want to merge. Okay. So let's change combine mode to merge and combine mode to merge. Yes, okay, that is how I want to do it. All right, back to my 2D view. Then with this dome in move and transform mode, hold down shift, drag that over there. I want the center of this to be right in about the center of the R, well, which is not what I did. There we go. Then with it in move and transform mode again, I held down shift. I didn't hold down control. All right, let's scoot that back over there. There we go. Hold down control, not shift. Drag it straight across. Catch up. There we go. Back over just a little bit. Nudge it with my cursor control keys. All right. And now another one over the K. And holding down shift, I'm going to expand it a little bit. That looks okay. All I did was move it. That's all right. I'll come back over here and grab this one. Hold down control because once again, All right, there we go. Now that's a mess. That's a serious mess. But when I click on my text, go into the level, right click, go into clipping and apply, it'll take it a minute to catch up. Go into the 3D view, and now each of the letters has taken on that dome shape individually. So you can have a lot of fun with this. And this is, to be honest, this is not limited to just text. You can do this with any vector. Let me back over here into my, and we're going to take all of this and we're going to move it up here just to get it out of the way. Go into my design tab and let's make a star, a 5-pointed star, and let's put it right here. I'm going to adjust that down to about, let's see, 35. Is that too much? Apply. Yeah, that's a little too much. Let's go with 37. Apply. And well, let's go to 39. I'm looking for something. Yeah, that's a little bit straighter. Okay. Close. Now, let's grab a deeper dome, real deep, and let's put it over the star. Go back in the design tab and not quite big enough. Hold down shift, expand it a little bit. There we go. And now go into the 3D view so we can see it. Oops, I still need to move my M out of the way. Back into the 2D view. Oh, that's because I did this. Let me delete that toolpath. Come back over. My M still there. My M is still there. Did I do a preview? I did a preview, and I reset the preview. Why is that M still down there? Okay, let's troubleshoot a little bit here. I know why. I forgot level 1 is still there. Let's delete level 1. And now it's still there. All right, tell you what, let's do. 2D view. Let's delete all of this. All right, now go into the components, and all I've got is this and my vector. Why do I still have the letter N there? Well, what we'll do is turn level clipping off. That's what it was. I still had level clipping turned on. Oopsie. Let's see here, LN. So are you able to make a wavy flag with these steps? I would have to dig into it to see. I have never done it. And yes, Jim, you can make each one a different height. I have never done this. I've never made a wavy flag using this method. But let's see here. Let me get back into what I was. Let me make sure my 3D view. Yes, okay. So I've got my 3D view and turn on my vector. Everything is good. Now I can select the vector, and I got distracted. Sorry about that. Apply level clipping to this, and now I have that dome-shaped star. That's a drastic dome, and I did it on purpose. So let's go into the properties, because I don't want it that tall. I've got 3/4 inch thick material. Let's bring that down to, again, we'll go to 0.5. Let it catch up, close it, and now, whoops, come on. Now we have something a little bit more realistic. So my point in this is that you can, while you can't create a 3D model, let's go back into design here. You can't create a 3D model in VCarve. You can get pretty close. Make this 6.0, and let's make this 6.0. Enter. And we'll center this square over that star. Close it. And now when I calculate a finishing tool path, we'll go with a smaller bit because this is going to be a little bit different. I'll go with a tapered ball nose. There you are. All right, fine. We'll select that. And we'll calculate it. It's still going to take it a while to calculate this tool path. Come on, you can do it, computer. There's a lot going on with this poor little computer. Now, Ellen was asking about, could you make a wavy flag with these steps? You use Aspire, if I'm not mistaken. Aspire is much easier to do because you can create a model. I'm demonstrating this in VCarve, and I forgot to use selected vector. So let me close this and turn off the tool path and go back into it. We're going to use the selected vector and just carve to that area there so it's a little bit faster. Calculate. There we go. So in Aspire, it would be very, very simple. Well, I won't say very simple, but you would come up with your wavy base and then create the flag over the top of it. So let's go ahead and preview this. And that's what we get. We get that nice rounded domed star. Now, with level clipping, there's a lot possible. You can do any number of things. You can put manipulated text or shapes such as this vector here with the star. You could put that down into the bottom of a dish as I demonstrated earlier. But I'm also getting a lot of questions about V-carving down in the bottom of a dish. Let me go ahead and reset my preview here, and I'm going to delete this tool path. Delete this. Close. And this didn't start out to be a demonstration of level clipping. It is just morphed into one. I had my letter M appearing down here in this dome because I forgot to do one thing. When you clip a level, like I've clipped this level to that star-shaped vector, if I come along and I make any changes, like if I move this star over here. You'll notice that my model didn't follow. It stayed right there because I clipped that dome shape to this vector while it was over here. Now I have two choices. It's going to stay over there unless I come back into my components, right click on the level title, not on the component, the level title, go into clipping, and I can either remove that clipping if I want to get rid of it entirely, or I can update that clipping because I've moved the vector. So let me update it, and it adjusted to where I moved that vector. It just so happens that this point is outside the area of the dome. If I go over to the 2D view, you can see that this point is outside of the dome, and this point is outside of the dome. So it's going to basically blend into the surface that's left behind here. Now, you may want that effect. You may not want that effect. And in fact, that is one way of kind of putting a couple of things here close by. It's center saying, yeah, could you stack a bunch of stars, say 30% of their width apart, then clip multiple times to create a stepped ridge or staircase-like pattern along the start? You certainly could. You certainly could. You could create another dome over here with another star. You could create an array of stars and then put these domes, size them, and adjust shape heights. I'm using my hands like you can see me right now to create all kinds of effects. So while you are, my point in all of this is, whoops, mistake. If you didn't know, I call this the meatball. If you double click the face on the meatball, it goes to the face directly opposite. So now you know. Now, if I bring this back down closer to the center, I will have to adjust it again. And with this vector selected, right click, clipping, update, and now I have my complete star again. So if you make any adjustments, move the vector or anything of that nature, or move the dome, you will have to remember to come back into your level title and update the clipping or remove it. If you are doing a lot of changes, like a dragon scale effect, you could probably do too. Let me see something. I have to look at something here. And we'll go into my component properties. And I can add fade and tilt. It would be a lot of work to do, but you could tilt that dome and overlap a bunch of them. It could be done. It could be done. You guys come up with some of the greatest questions and come up with some of the greatest things that get my brain spinning, which is one reason why I don't get any projects done. I start exploring things that people have said, well, could you do this? I don't know. Let's find out. So I've got one more real quick thing to demonstrate, and then we're going to need to wrap this up simply because I've got time constraint today. Let me go back over to the design tab and go back over to my 2D view. I'm going to zoom out and we're going to get rid of all of this, delete, and I got to remember to go back here to my level and remove that clipping, because even though there's no component out here, that component is still there. That level clipping rather is still there. So let's go back to my design tab. No, let's go back to my clip art tab. And I'm going to take this dish, since I tend to go with shallow depths. There's no sense in going with something really, really thick. And I'll come over here to my component tab. And I'm going to go into the properties. And I'm going to change this dome into a dish by going into subtract. And my shape height, let's go with 0.5 again, just because. So that makes my dome only a half, or my dish rather, only a ½ inch. And we'll close that. I'll go back up to the top, go into my design tab. I'm going to add a 0 plane so that it fills in any of these rough edges on my dish. Go back up to a straight top view. Then over here in my 2D view, click off of it. Now I'll come up to my text. And I'm going to find something that's a little bit more artsy. Well, I'll use this. What the heck? It's right here handy. And I'm going to type my name. And I'm going to reduce that text height a little bit. Let's take it down to 2 inches. Close. And I'm going to select my dish. And where am I at? I'm going to draw a vector around it. There we are. Create vector boundary around the selected component. And there is my circle there. Now I'm going to select my text. No. Now I'm going to select my text. Then I'm going to select that circle second. I'm going to come into my alignment tools. And I want to align the selected object to the last item in the selection, in this case being that circle. And I want to put this in the center of that circle. So we'll go right here, vertical and horizontal, moves my text to the middle, close. And now the question I get is on how do I put this in the bottom of that dish? I want to VCarve this in the bottom of that dish. Well, I'm going to select my vector. I'm going to come over and do a 3D finishing toolpath. Again, my model thickness and position, I'm going to go with a gap above the model of 0.01. That puts a thin skin here, and I do this to avoid flat spots in my model. I'll click OK to accept that measurement, then click OK again to accept everything else. I don't need to use that small of a tapered ball nose for this. And in fact, I'm not going to use a tapered ball nose at all. I'm going to use my ½ inch ball nose bit. And select that to the selected vector. And because it's round and I've got a very robust bit, I will go ahead and do offset. And we'll calculate that. And that shouldn't take very long to do. I'm gonna do this and throw in a little tip here. All right, there we go. Okay, I don't see it, so never mind. I don't need to throw in that tip. Never mind. I won't even discuss it. I'll wait until I come across that situation. Now I want to select my text, come out of the preview, I'm going to VCarve this in the bottom of that dish. And for this, I'll use a flat depth of 0.1. I very rarely go deeper than that. I'm going to select my go-to 90-degree V-bit. I'm not going to worry about clearance tools for this demonstration, but here is the key. If you really want to make sure, oops, I got to select the bit first. Hello, there we go. Here is the key. If you are trying to carve this in the bottom of a dish or on a 3D model, you don't have to worry about a start depth. You don't have to worry about that at all. You simply put a check mark into project toolpath onto 3D model. Now it doesn't matter if this is a dish or if it's up on a dome. The software is going to figure out where this dish starts and stops, and it's going to adjust this toolpath accordingly. So we'll come down here and we'll calculate it. And I'm going to change the color of this to black so that you can see it. Get some contrast here. And we'll preview that VCarve. And it put that VCarve down in the bottom of that dish. And you can see that it follows the shape of the dish. So it's simply making sure you put that check mark there. Then again, it doesn't matter if it's a dome, a dish, or something else. A teardrop, it doesn't matter what it is. So that is probably more than you ever wanted to know, or more of a refresher than you needed on manipulating text within VCarve Desktop and VCarve Pro. And again, I don't think anything I've covered here is not available in VCarve Desktop. I believe everything that I've covered in this live stream is available in VCarve Desktop. So you are limited, but there is, I won't say always, there is usually a way you can work around it. I think level clipping is very underutilized. I don't think most people know that it's even available. And you can do some fascinating things with it. I mean, just get in and play with it and let your imagination go crazy. So let's go ahead. If I get over to the right monitor. And first things first, are there any questions? I'm going to scroll back up here and see if there were any questions that I missed. Let's see. You could do a whole series on 3D art without Aspire at this point, Mark. You are limited, but not as much as a lot of people think. Now, let me say right off the bat, none of these things are replacements for Aspire. You can do so much with Aspire that even if you get in and play with just the trial version and start getting used to the tools, you will wonder how you got along without it, or how you're getting along without it. Just being able to manipulate some of the smaller things, like in this dish, if you wanted to smooth out that dish and have a different transition put in there, or you didn't want this border like this, you wanted to add a profile or something, or make a lip go around it. I mean, there are ways to get around it in VCarve, but it's so much easier in Aspire. It really is. So You're limited, but you're not limited as much as you think you are. Now, 8th Center, like I said, I didn't mean to make this a tutorial on level clipping. I have videos on level clipping on my channel. I will go back and find them and link them in the description as soon as we're done live here. I just wrote myself a note. So that is going to be determined by what you have and what you're upgrading to. I would highly suggest you go into your portal, your V and Company portal, and there will be, if you go to, I believe it's downloads, I believe you will find in that link, you will find a link to upgrade, and they will give you a price based on what you have and what version and all this other good stuff. I don't like to give out prices simply because I know my luck. The minute I give out a price, they'll change it. And then somebody's going to come back, hey, you said it was going to be this. Well, you know, I'm not in charge of pricing. So I will say it's going to vary from person to person. So go log into your V and Company account, the portal. I believe it's portal.vectric.com. I may be wrong. And check for your case, your specific case. Rob Schuster, hi Mark. There was a post today where there was confusion between rest machining and doing a roughing toolpath before a 3D toolpath. Might be a good topic for some point. Yeah, I can do that. That is a good point. I see a lot of people roughing with a ball nose, and they're doing the offset method, and basically you're carving the 3D model twice. Some people like it to do it that way, and more power to you. If you get the result you're after, I'm never going to tell you that you're wrong. But basically, you're carving the model twice because then you come back to do a finishing tool path with a tapered ball nose and redoing the entire thing. I rough with a standard 1/4-inch end mill, remove the bulk of the material, and let the tapered ball nose take care of the rest. So, but yeah, I get it. There is a major difference between rest machining and roughing. So that is a good topic, and I will get into that. I did want to say to Ray Russell again, thank you for becoming a channel member. You've just joined a group of people that you may or may not want to be associated with, but I will tell you they're a fine group of folks, some very talented individuals, and they are friendly, knowledgeable, and I think the best thing I like about this group that I've got as a membership is that it's a judgment-free zone. We're all here to learn from one another, and I constantly learn from these folks. For anybody who is thinking about becoming a channel member, we'd love to have you. Ray, when you go to, let me go back over here, share my screen. If you go to my channel and look right down here, it's where it says community. Click on that. I'm not going to scroll down and show it. I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to let you do it. Scroll down and you will find the links to tomorrow's live, members only live stream. And You'll also find community only posts. Members only posts there and what have you. I schedule the members only live streams on the Saturday before that live stream, and I will post a link over here. So this is where you'll find them. Come over to my YouTube channel, click on the community tab, and there you go. So, no, Brooks, that is not correct. That's not correct. The jump from VCarve Pro to Aspire, what you're thinking is an upgrade from, say, like version 10 to version 12, Aspire to Aspire. That's what that is. So the upgrade from VCarve Pro to Aspire, I think he's got it right. Sorry about that. I needed to interject. So, Ray, head over to the community tab, and there you'll find the links. Members only live streams are Mondays at 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. We have a great time. We have some great topics. Mike Bernasconi just did a presentation last week on parametric design and parametric projects. And man, was it a good one. This week, tomorrow, as a matter of fact, we're going to get into a lot of it is Aspire only, but a lot of it isn't. Yeah, or 02:30 in the morning for the UK. Yes. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna get into creating a custom clip art library, taking some of your composite models that you've created in Aspire, saving them as clip art to put into the clip art library, or exporting them as an STL file. We're going to get into that this week. It's going to be Aspire heavy, but not Aspire only. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, or if you want some information on how to become a channel member, we'd love to have you. Click that join button down there below this video pane, and a little panel is going to pop up and a video is going to play, tell you all about channel membership. Next week, I'm not sure what's going to happen. It's going to depend on if I have a Rotary project ready. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, knock on wood, to have it. If not, I think I'm going to take Rob Schuster's suggestion, and we'll get into the difference between rest machining and roughing and finishing. So, Ray, also, I forgot to mention, let's do this real quick. And if you go over to back to my YouTube channel and click on playlists, you will see where is created playlists. Where is it? Where is it? There's a members only playlist. Where did I put it? I probably passed it. You see, I do make playlists of Michael Mazalik's videos too. As I said, he is my guru. Members only. There it is. There is a members only playlist. You can click on that, and you can start at number 1 if you wish and work your way down. But fair warning, we just started season 3. And so there are 109 videos. But if you just go into the last one, parametric design with Mike Bernasconi, you will see my email address. If you want to join the members only Facebook group, bring it on. If you want to just send me an email and I'll friend request you, we'll get you added to the group and to our super secret private chat. and get going. And if you don't use Facebook, well, I'm sorry. Yes, those are brisket, Wendell. That's a playlist of a bunch of different secrets I found for cooking brisket. And oh, it's a good one. But that's a private playlist, only for me. But anyhow, let's get out of that. Yeah, go to one of the previous members only videos. You've got a full playlist there available to you. Shoot me an email. I'll friend request you, and we'll get you added to the Facebook group if you choose to join. Other than that, next week, we'll see what happens. Probably something with the Rotary. Probably not. I do too. He's my current favorite YouTuber. If you like history, military history, he just released a video today, uh, Operation Beaver Drop. It's not what you think. I know this story because I live in Oregon. Fun stuff. You mean no fair? It's very fair. I mean, I'm the guy that went and did the research and found all the cool videos. They're all out there available to the public. I will say one thing. Here is search for that channel. I just put it in the chat. Uh, Killer channel. It's a great channel. Anyway, let's get out of here. I'm late. Um, I've said everything I need to say. Channel members, see you tomorrow night, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. Be there, be square. Everybody else, catch you next Sunday. Thank you for spending part of your Sunday with me. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, put them in the comments, please, and I'll get to you just as quickly as I can. And have a great week. See you next week. Y'all take care.